Shalom Aleichem, my friends. I'm Baruch Alevsky here. Chabad Family Programs. Coming to share an amazing thought I learned from the Rebbe. The Rebbe has this unique, genius way to connect things in Torah and in our life, God and the world, in ways that we would never imagine are connected. But once you hear them, they seem so well synchronized. And you see the unity in Torah. I think that's one of the beauties of the Rebbe's teachings. Here's one of them. This week's Torah contains the laws of marriage. Laws of divorce, from which the laws of marriage are learned from the laws of divorce in the Torah. Should never happen. But the Torah talks about marriage. How does a man betroth a woman? Most people who went through the process will know they stand under a chuppah, the bottom line, after everything else is said and done. And the man says, Harei at mikudeshes li v'taba'at zo kedat Moshe Yisrael, kedat Moshe Yisrael. Behold, you are, he says to the woman, mikudeshet li. What does mikudeshet mean? Mikudeshet comes from the word holy, sanctified, dedicated, uniquely appointed. All those are translations of the word kadosh. So the regular marriage ceremony we know is under a chuppah, and it's that ring. Oh, you see the sun right behind me. Maybe I could put the ring in the sun. Oh darn. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Oh, come on. It was beautiful a moment ago. Okay, it's in there somewhere. Oh, there's the ring. There's the sun. Okay, this is the ring. The ring of marriage. Gotta have some fun, right? Okay, so marriage. Mikudeshet li. So the word mikudeshet plays a central role in the concept of marriage. And not only that, but in the Talmud, the concept of betrothal, when a person, a man, acquires for himself a wife, is called Kiddushin. Same word, Kiddushin, comes from the word kadosh. Kadosh, holy, separate, sanctified. Those are the translations of the word kadosh. The Rebbe explains, the Rebbe says, that the Talmud says, why is the marriage process called Kiddushin? Why are they using this word, holiness, which means separation and dedicated and unique? And the reason is because the asar la akula alma kehekdesh. The reason is because when a man acquires a woman, betroths a woman, is mikadesh, we'll use this word a lot, kadosh, then he is in effect at that moment prohibiting her from the rest of the world like a holy object, like a holy item. She becomes holy, which means separated from the rest of the world. So simply speaking, when a husband and wife unite in marriage, there's a relationship that is formed between the two. There's a bond that is a holy bond, but there's also a marital related distance between them and the rest of the world. They become prohibited from the rest of the world, and that's why Kiddushin, the process of marriage, is called Kiddushin, which means sanctification and holiness, which literally means separation. Because it's separate, it's different from regular. So we have the name down, that's the name. Now the process. The Mishnah tells us, the Jewish law tells us, that there are three ways in which a man can acquire a woman. It's kesef, shtar, and bia. Kesef means money. This is what we do under the chuppah. We take a ring that has monetary value, and if a man gives it to the woman, and he acquires her for himself as a wife, money is not something internal. It's not a part of him or her. It's something external. It's possessions of the person. So one way you can acquire, make the marriage happen, is through your possessions, through kesef. Another way is through shtar. Shtar is a contract. There's also a marriage contract, a ketubah. that the husband gives the wife. And over there, it's not the value of the contract, of the paper on which it's written or the parchment. It's the content of what is written that is valuable and that creates the bond of Kiddushin between husband and wife. The third thing is Bia. Bia is marital intimacy. So we have three paths to connect with a husband and wife to make the bond. Kesef shtar Bia is money, which is possessions, contract, which is content, and Bia, which is personal intimacy, which is obviously an internal and personal relationship and connection, and a physical connection. And the Rebbe continues, this is the central part of the marriage is the Kiddushin through Bia, through this marital intimacy, which will enable the purpose of marriage, the general purpose of marriage, which is to continue the generations, the first mitzvah in the Torah, to have children and raise them as they should be raised. And the Rebbe says, parenthetically, this is why we don't say the bracha shehecheyanu on the marriage itself during a marriage, because the children, which is hopefully the goal of the marriage, the outcome of the marriage, have not yet been produced. So the blessing of shehecheyanu doesn't apply yet, parenthetically. Moving on, the Rebbe says that everything in this world has its roots in the Torah, in the spiritual world. Everything that we have in our physical world has its parallel and root in the spiritual world. So our marriage on earth, that is called Kiddushin, and is accessible through these three paths of Kesef, Shtar, and Bia, is also a marriage between God and the Jewish people. So God looked into his marriage between us. My Gimble is making problems. God looked into his marriage and he created marriage for us based on the same principles. So what are the principles of God's marriage? The Torah tells us, Ubanu b'charta mikol am v'lashon. God chose us to be his special nation, to bring a special message to the world. When did he do this? It's b'yom chatunaso, zo matan Torah. He did this at Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai was the marriage ceremony. There was actually chuppah. There was a mountain hovering above us. That was the chuppah. And there was the contract, the Torah, that God gave us at Mount Sinai. So we have, I don't know why my gimbal is shaking, but we have a marriage between God and the Jewish people. And the Rebbe says, just like in the Kiddushin, in the holiness aspect of the husband and wife marriage that prohibits them from the rest of the world, so too in a marriage between God and the Jewish people, we need to see the rest of the world as prohibited to us. Our relationship should be exclusively with God. Hekdesh, just like Hekdesh. Hekdesh means something that's sanctified, that is holy. When a husband and a wife, I don't know what's happening here. It's shaking. I'm going to slow down here. I don't know why. But when a husband and wife communicate, connect, then it's not that they are forbidden to each other. Hekdesh, holiness, means that in the right time, in the right place, with the right person, the right object or experience, and the right intent, then everything's kosher. But if any of those are missing, it's not kosher. That's in our marriage to our spouse. And same things with our marriage to God. It has to be the right time. The whole world is accessible, but it needs to be accessed in the right time, in the right place, with the right person or experience, and with the right intent. And then we elevate the world. Then our interaction with the world is in sync with our marriage to God. So the Rebbe says that's the concept of Kiddushin. Then he goes on and explains it beautifully with the three paths of a man acquiring a woman, which is Kesef, Shtar, Bia, money or possessions, contract, the content in the contract, and marital intimacy. And he says we have those three paths also in our service to God, in our relationship with God. We have mitzvahs that we do with our bodies internally. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm trying to keep the Gimble at bay. We have mitzvahs that we do with our bodies, that no one else can do, like wrapping tefillin. You light the Shabbos candles. You make a bracha when you eat. There are mitzvahs that we do. It's a personal, internal experience. No one else can do it for me. I need to do it myself. That parallels the marital intimacy. There are mitzvahs that we could do with our money, with our possessions. We could give tzedakah, give charity. We can help a poor person. We can help anybody with our funds. We can pay for tuition, for Jewish education, for other children, or even our own. And many other. Anything you can do with your money that helps another person, or with your belongings that helps another person, that is parallel. That's a mitzvah that parallels in the Kiddushin, in the betrothal, the ring, the monetary gift that a husband gives his wife. And then there's the shtar, the contract. So what is the contract? The contract is the content, it's the Torah. The contract between God and the Jewish people is the Torah. We study Torah. That is our relationship with God, is through Torah also. So we have three ways in which we relate to God, similar to the three paths in which a man acquires a woman in marriage. And finally, for the grand finale, the Rebbe connects these three ways that we spoke about also to the three pillars on which the world stands, that the Mishnah says, Al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed. There's three things upon which the world stands: Al Torah, Ve'al ha'avoda, Ve'al gemilut chasadim. On Torah, avoda literally means work, but it means service of the heart, which means prayer. And gemilut chasadim means acts of kindness. So the Rebbe says, so too, these three pillars on which the world stands parallel the three modes of our service to God and the three methods in which a man can acquire a woman. The Torah is obvious. It connects to the shtar, that contract that a man can acquire a woman is the Torah. It's the content. So we study Torah, and that's one of the pillars of the world. Avoda means service of the heart. Service of the heart means regularly, it means prayer. But over here it means anything that you need to do in an internal way, that you have to personally get involved. And that would be parallel to the marital intimacy, the bia. And then there's gemilut chasadim, acts of kindness, which would be parallel to the kesef, to the acquiring a woman through a monetary value, something of monetary value, through the ring, which is customary, or through any other monetary value. So there we have it. We have the Rebbe taking, a Jewish law that this is the way you marry. Kesef, shtar, bia, there's money, there's a contract, there's intimacy, and he parallels it with our marriage to God in heaven, and tells us to keep that marriage safe by, it's doing it again. Oh no, that's my gimbal. I don't know what's going on with it. But he says to keep that marriage safe by observing, by recognizing that the whole world is accessible to us in the right time, in the right place, like hektish, just like our marriage, like a holy object, like a holy item. And finally, the three pillars of the world: Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim. There you have it. God bless you. I hope you appreciate this enough to share it. Share. Click share. Zeig is a